All right. So I think now is the time that we went live officially. So we'll see how people are piling in. So welcome in, everybody. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting notifications that we're online, I think. So
Wow.
yeah, usually I try not to have too much of an intro because people are still piling in. But yeah, what have you been up to?
Well, just the crazy. I wish we could say a week wasn't crazy, but yeah, this week for me, I got really into the story about the guy who was using AlphaFold and some large language models and working with scientists to try to cure his dog's cancer. So I
Hmm.
did actually like a deep dive video on that, which is unusual for me, but there was just so many people, and I wanted to it seems so like, how do you do that kind of thing? So I really wanted to deep dive into that. But besides that, I talked a little bit about Miroofish. It felt like that was really trendy yesterday, where you simulate thousands of people with their own memory through agents and kind of make predictions about the future. I even have a friend that runs a hedge fund, and I was like talking to him about that. So I thought that was sort of a fascinating kind of new project. And then I was like looking at some dancing. I don't know if you saw that dancing robot that went kind of crazy in a restaurant, in like a Chinese restaurant in California. Like he was just trying to dance and nobody could figure out how to turn it off. And he's like knocking over tables and stuff.
I
And
I was dying laughing. I don't know why it's so funny
yeah,
because he's doing,
it's
what is that,
like,
the dab where you go like this? So
yeah,
he's like
well, it's
doing
got
this,
like
the
when
like
it's got like these
knocking
three
people
like
over.
employees like trying to like hold him back by his collar. And he's just like, yeah, he's like doing
Ah,
that. Like, I was like, oh God, this is like the future we're building. So I don't
I
know. Also,
yeah.
and more than that too, but all sorts of stuff this week.
I thought it was very entertaining. I really enjoyed seeing that. But yeah, I was laughing very, very hard. I don't know why, something about that. It's just
Yeah,
the
stop
way
dancing, stop dancing. Like you're like, I can't. Like
it's just the joyous dance moves that it's doing versus the absolute terror on the human's faces as it's like
I
destroying the
know.
restaurant. Just something about that contrast was absolutely amazing. So, all right,
Yeah.
Roman, the primal lifestyle, Ronald Morgan, welcome, welcome, GM Tarby, thank you, everybody for being here. So yeah, we're just like kind of warming up here. So throw questions in, and we're just chatting. And there was something else. Okay, so I did not hear. I just heard the headlines about the dog. Maybe we can start there because somebody cured their own dog's cancer with AlphaFold. Is that what you're saying? That sounds nuts.
Yeah, that actually is pretty crazy. So let me give me 1 second here. I'm gonna pull up some facts about that article because um even though I like I don't know if it's like this for you. Sometimes I like do a video on something and people are like, dude, don't you remember all the details? You did a video on it. I'm like, no, I kind of can't remember everybody's name. But yeah, they
Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I tend to remember, and I think it's a thing that I have, like my long-term memory is like turned up and my short-term memory is turned down. I think it might be an ADD thing, ADHD, because I remember a lot of conversations, a lot of like the stuff that I've read, I've stuff like that. And I mean, you've done interviews with me. I forget sometimes like what question I'm answering in the middle of answering the question. You know what I mean? So it's like, if I think it's like a trade-off.
Right, and especially because we're like so up on AI, I feel like we're definitely the first to like lose our brains to it. We're like giving up too much. I don't know, or at least TikTok was starting to take that from me. But yeah. So there's this tech entrepreneur. His name was Paul something, and but I remember his dog. Okay, he had this beautiful, cute, wonderful little dog named Rosie, and she had this really aggressive form of cancer. The cancer was building up in her leg and it became really big, like just this whole tennis ball looking thing kind of like on her leg. It looked super painful, super bad. He went through a round of chemotherapy with the dog. Helped a little bit, but it just really extended the time it was taking to like metastasize and do that. It wasn't really a real solution. So then he just started talking to AI. It was like this has been taking place over a year, so it was one of the earlier models of ChatGPT originally. But at certain points, he also did talk to pretty much all the models about this. And he didn't say like give me a cure. He just said like what are some ideas? Like how do I go about this? What kind of tools are out there in the medical literature that nobody has understood yet? And it kind of pointed him towards immunotherapy using mRNA vaccines. Now he's a pretty good data scientist. He's got a good tech history, but he certainly isn't a doctor. He doesn't know anything about mRNA and the DNA and immunotherapy. So um, the large language model actually pointed him towards this specific company, and it said like, this is the company that you would want to sequence Rose's DNA, that his dog, right? And then when you get that, you can get a DNA pattern that is the cancer cell, and you can also do it again to a healthy cell. So he had this lab basically take a piece of the cancer, look at the DNA, sequence it, and then also look at a healthy cell in another part of the dog's body that was not affected. And then he had these two, undescribably long chains of DNA, and he put it into AlphaFold and said, like, oh, sorry. First, he put it in a large language model and said, "Show me what's different." Like, and this is where I thought it was really interesting, because no human can just hold, you know what I mean? Like, you couldn't give me like a copy of the Iliad and say like, this one's got some errors in it. Can you help find them? Like, it would kill me. You know what I mean? That would take my whole life to like scan on both and find the two errors in it. But like, for large language models, that's actually something they can do, and they can handle these huge context windows. So he was able to just say, keep asking, like, what's the difference, and isolated some of the genes that were not the same in both. And then he was able to go to AlphaFold, another AI model, the DeepMind model, that actually takes those sequences, and then it shows which proteins they encode for, or which amino acids they encode for, and then amino acids fold into a 3D structure, and AlphaFold folded them. So it actually showed two shapes, physical 3D shapes that you can like rotate around. The one that was in the cancer in the dog cells that was misshaped, right? Like, you can imagine like two rocks or something, and they should be identical in their like bumpiness, but one of them had a different smooth thing and different had a rough thing. And the one that was causing the cancer, that missing shape in those proteins are the reason why it had gone AWOL. Um, which is just crazy. Like, this is just a guy, And also, I should also say that he's not alone, kind of like a lone person just doing all of this on his own. He kept showing his research to actual scientists. Like, he found, oh, what's the name of the company? I have to look it up. But he actually went to a company that was in Australia that's actually licensed to do all of this, and kept showing them his results. And then they kept helping him like customize this vaccine. And eventually they made a vaccine for him, but nobody was authorized to give it to the dog. Like, obviously it's illegal to just build something and inject it into an animal. So he basically went to social media and he said, "Hey, like, I'm in Australia. I got this other company in Australia that like has built this thing. These are real scientists. This is a cure that is customized and might actually make a real difference. And I think it's in the dog's best interest. Can I get like an ethical board to approve it?" And that looked pretty hopeless, but that's where like sort of the power of social media came in, and somebody randomly saw the article, forwarded it to her friend that was like working in the government, and was able to kind of like work with the equivalent of their FDA or whatever. And they gave him authorization, and he did it, and the tumor shrunk. In the original reporting, if you look at his X account, you can see that it was down 50% in about 3 weeks. And then he was just on the Today Show a couple days ago and said 75% now. So way better than
Wow.
the kind of things that we had to cure that before. And it was a customized vaccine. It also shows how something like this could become like the norm, in the near future for all types of cancer. And the fact that he made a 3D shape of it with no ability to do that. Like, you remember you said early on, like, how crazy is it that it can fold proteins in its head, like something a human could never do, but he was able to like leverage that. And then once you see the two shapes, you can actually start asking some questions. Like, real people who know what they're doing can ask like, why is this misshape causing a problem? And then learn more about the cell. And I don't know, just totally fascinating. And it's got this wonderful ending where the dog's, well, it's not totally gone yet, but we're talking 75% reduction, and he's going to do other injections and keep it up. So like, it might actually get cured, or at least drastically extend the health span of his dog.
That's amazing. And this really, when Demis Hassabis says, all disease will be cured in 10 years, he says a few decades, I think, this is not somebody that's like hypey, right? He tends to be pretty conservative. He tends to be pretty reasonable, and sometimes going against kind of like where everybody else is. Saying, people are like, "Oh yeah, AGI in 2 years." He's like, "Well, no, we still don't have the necessary structures. 10 years plus, whatever." His projections were, but so when he says we're going to potentially cure all disease in a decade or two, I take that to be literal, like all
Yeah.
disease, which is insane to think about. But then, you listen to a story like this and it puts it in perspective. Here's some random guy, and you said he didn't have a background in anything like that,
No, I mean,
right?
he was a data scientist, and at one point, some of the comparison algorithms so remember I told you he had the DNA sequenced from both like the mutated cancerous cells and the regular ones, and then he did ask ChatGPT and a few other AI models to compare the two, and then when it found the differences, he was obviously really talented with data science because he was able to
Hmm.
kind of go in there and figure out like what codes for an amino acid and like what actually would matter, and then go look at a bunch of other stuff about what junk DNA is and like isn't important. And then he was doing some custom kind of custom algorithms or custom like kind of data science work. So I don't want to say he didn't have a part that like just anybody could have done it, but knew nothing about medicine, and he
Yeah.
wasn't like familiar with DNA up until this moment, or immunotherapies or mRNA vaccines.
Yeah, I mean, that really kind of puts it into perspective that somebody like that, I mean, yes, he had labs that were helping him out, but in the future, as this becomes more accessible, it'll probably become more and more of a like a, you can go to a website and get something. I mean, within reason, probably get something like
Mhm.
that done. And the fact that he can create an mRNA vaccine to fix one specific animal's whatever issue, deficiency, abnormality,
Yeah.
to
Well,
me, that, Mhm.
sorry. Oh, well, I'll
No, no,
throw
go
one more
ahead.
thing in there too, which is that like at one point he reached out to one of the two different labs that were helping him, and they were like, "We don't like sell to direct customers, right? Like they
Right,
work
right.
with pharmaceutical companies. Like we can't actually sell you anything." But then ChatGPT was like, "Oh, let me like read all their like bylaws and let me see if we can get a workaround, or let me see what it would take to get you qualified as like a vendor." Like so there's also just this human kind of social element about how to get this done, and like and found the exact people at the company that he needed to talk to so he could like write an email that said, "Hey, this is about saving a dog, like can't you help me?" To, like pull some heartstrings over there in the corporate entity to like make them feel something. So there was just everything
Mhm.
in this story.
I I quit, this gym membership a while back, and, like, a year later, they came saying they're gonna send me to collections or something because I didn't complete some BS thing, like, I didn't how some gyms like, I hate this about gyms. Some of them, not everybody, but some of them are just so kind of scummy about how they do their billing practices, and it's unfortunate. But this one was one of those where it was like a good gym, but then I guess when you leave, and there was a number of reviews in it that kind of mentioned this, like they really start like trying to squeeze money out of you, trying to send you to collections. And it's like I canceled, I wasn't paying, and then later like, oh, whatever, this is like your balance and the late fees and this and this. And normally, what are you gonna do? There's not much. You either pay the bill or whatever. But I was like, all right, ChatGPT or whatever, Claude, like here's my contract, here's all my communications, here's all of this. Like find any like find anything, like deep research, like
Yeah,
make this your mission. You're no longer
dude,
passing butter.
and there is stuff like that in there. You know what I mean? Like there's like I'm sure there's a tax code that would like make it so that we paid no taxes the same way Amazon does. They just have people who can like handle,
Mhm.
billions of transactions and somehow like net them positive and negative based on their investments and stuff. Like I that's one of the best things about these tools is we might be able to find, yeah, not to get screwed with contracts, not get screwed with taxes, like not find those like kind of needles in a haystack.
And that's exactly what it did. I'm glad you said that. It found the needles in a haystack that were just mwah. It was brilliant. It was like the most nitpicky, detail-oriented, like no human being. I mean, there's a few human beings that probably they work as lawyers and these jobs that demand this super close attention. I don't have that, to sit there for hours trying to
Hmm.
comb through everything. You need to be like an accountant slash lawyer slash whatever. And with
Yeah.
these large language models, they're everything and more. They're all of that and more. And so, yeah, it found like a few little things and it wrote up a whole thing. And, we went back and forth with this gym. And here's the thing, like in the end, like I wasted more time than is reasonable dealing with this. You know what I mean? So it's, I'm not
I
saying
know
this.
you could have built like 10 pounds of muscle, but you're like, oh,
Exactly. Yeah. If I spend more time dealing with that than going to that gym in the first place, unfortunately. But at the end, I paid $0, so it was a moral victory. Um, Again, by any like metric, it was a loss. It was a loss of money, and I could have. In terms of like opportunity cost, I could have like probably spent that elsewhere, that time elsewhere. But I don't know. It felt really good. It felt good at the end to be like, no, I'm not paying you a cent.
well, yeah, well, because at least you punched like above your weight class. You know what I mean? Like you weren't like capable of just finding all those little loopholes. And yeah, my guess would be when Paul went to the therapeutics company, they, it probably said like, oh, we can't sell to customers, but he probably said something along the lines of, well, technically, since it's for a dog, this would qualify under some sort of like testing parameters that are legal. And if you do it to this person who has the right licensing, then they can administer it for me. And like, probably just figured out the like loophole stuff. And also I'll throw one other thing in there too, is that I'm not sure this would have been so successful if the way that the COVID vaccines were developed weren't so public. I don't know if you kind of remember how kind of I think it was called Operation Warp Speed that was like put into
Mhm.
place in the US during the early COVID days. It sort of forced much more than would be normal public, because a bunch of other countries needed access to kind of how to build a COVID vaccine. And it was kind of a worldwide problem that forced some of the pharmaceutical companies to open up a lot of processes. And if it wasn't for all of that research being in the training data, I'm not sure this would have worked for Paul either. So it kind of also shows the importance of kind of open sourcing solutions and having like, trying to get some of this data that's behind walls out into the open so that the general public can benefit from it too.
Yeah. Somebody's asking how long before a disgruntled teenager uses AI to develop a doomsday virus. That's always like the other side of it, because if you
Yeah.
can develop some of the stuff, somebody that has a lot of time in their hands, somebody that's smart, somebody that's maybe like antisocial and just sits in front of their computer all day, and has some issues with the world. I mean, we know people like that exist, and they do tend to do crazy stuff every once in a while. What if this is like handing them a loaded gun? Um,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know,
a couple of comments on that is that, so in this case, and this is probably why we do need to think about these sort of pipelines, because in this case, he kept doing his own data research and then sending it to the lab, and then the lab people who were helping him with it had to like make it and then give it to someone else to administer it. So it's not like they ever mailed him something, and it's not like they would have mailed if he would have sent like, hey, I want this like like anthrax like thing, they would have been like, this is so scary, like go to jail, bro, like, you know what I mean? So there would have been a human in the loop in this case, but it doesn't mean it's always going to be like that. And there's certainly going to be a market for people to probably just mail stuff on the dark web at some point. So I'm not saying it's not something to worry about, but I think in this case I did sort of like how there were humans in there, and I think Paul didn't get too aggressive in like saving his dog to kind of push ethical limits beyond where they should have been. So I was, you know different people will have different boundaries on that, but in this case I thought
absolutely.
it was in the right realm.
All right. So so really fast, like we got some people piling in. So thank you so much. We got people on X. Is there anyone watching on Twitch? If you're on Twitch, can somebody just comment? I'm not sure if like I don't really have anything there, so I'm not sure if I'm doing it right. But yeah, people from X, thank you so much. People from YouTube, thank you so much. Throw in the chat where you're coming from, where you watching from. So Goat said he filled out the survey. Thank you so much. You are the Goat. Username checks out. Yeah, so I have a quick survey just to better understand who's in my community, kind of what you all do. So please, check that out. Cloud Region saying, hi, Wes and Dylan. Love what you guys do. Thank you so much, so much.
Aw.
M. Raron. Mr. Mr. Aaron or Marone, I don't know. Yeah, Twitch is dead. Yeah, I think so. I think definitely YouTube and other places are. Oh, where you're watching from? I mean, on the planet, on or off the planet. What country or location? Where in the world are you? Evo 2, I just looked it up, but I do need to look into that a little bit more. So, and there's one more comment. You didn't cancel your membership and blamed the gym for it. So here's my take on it. There's a lot of places where the governments do this, and also a lot of businesses do this. They realize that if they make things well, no, the governments do it a little bit differently. So businesses, they sometimes make cancellations and things so difficult that just the you don't know if you've canceled, you're not sure if that happened. It might be too difficult. LA Fitness actually got sued for it because of like how overwhelmingly difficult it was because it was like you have to send them a certified mail, right? Which means what? Which means you can't send it with a stamp. You have to go to the post office. It's like, so they basically create all these like steps that you have to do. And I think I don't remember exactly with this gym because I went in and I told them I want to cancel. They're like, oh, well, I'm so sorry, like we can't do it, which is BS. Go online, but online it was also okay, yeah, but you got to send a written certified mail or something. And it was one of those things where I'm like, part of my brain went, okay, like I thought I did it because I went to this gym and I went online and it seemed like I canceled it. So yeah, I mean, sure, if you think that's on me and it's my fault, it should be 100% my thing. I get it. I disagree. I disagree because if you make something so difficult, and again, it's supposed to be just an easy everyday thing, like I don't understand why banks don't allow you to cancel those subscriptions. You know what I mean? On your end. Like it's your money. But it's like we have to go and like beg in front of these businesses, like,
Whoa,
please, I can't pay anymore. You know what I mean?
it's a good point.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Because it's
like
obviously
why do they get to just bill your account and then you have to go figure out how to stop them? Like you just be like, I don't ever want to bill from this. I mean, I
how
guess they
come
kind of can, but it should be more like
it
sometimes in
shouldn't be like
PayPal
our
it's like that.
choice.
But yeah, I
You know
hear
what I
you.
mean? So
No, hoops
anyway,
are the
so
worst, dude. I think some of the Ivy League colleges have some level of that too, where it's kind of just like, can you follow all these rules to get in? And so many jobs are like that. It just takes away from innovation and actually like a real
yeah.
market dynamics.
So yeah, 4 of 20 said they do just change your card. That was one of the things that I think happened is at the end I did switch. I think I closed the card that was it was on, and so the payments weren't coming through. So I thought I was done with it. But I didn't jump through all of the hoops that they required for the effective cancellations. And I got to figure out how to do prepaid debit cards and stuff like that. That
Yeah,
might
because
be
even
actually
the card that you got exposed by your OpenClaw, right? Wasn't that that was a regular credit card with a limit, not a
That was
prepaid debit card?
not that was a very low limit. That was a very low limit special credit card that I set aside in a bank that I don't bank with. So it was like all
Okay,
my things are here and this was out here with a small limit
yeah,
specifically
it's for your
for the more
agent.
risky, yeah.
Yeah, especially
So
I mean, there's got to be a world soon where Wells Fargo and J.P. Morgan they should start having bank accounts for agents, and they should work differently. You know what I mean? They're probably going to be a sub account under your name, but it should have because they're going to want a whole different kind of level of cybersecurity on it. They're going to look for payments and unauthorized things differently than a human would.
and also you can't be charging 30 cents plus a percentage on every transaction. That really kills a lot of the applications. Speaking of
Yeah.
which, Stripe recently announced. Stripe is huge. I love Stripe. I love everything that they do. Stripe is you can take credit cards online, and they're just very very good at that. Recently, they announced that they're doing more to facilitate exactly what you're talking about. This idea of an agentic online economy. Um, they're saying they're introducing the machine payments protocol. So we're not going to go too
Hmm.
deep into it because I haven't had a chance to read through it. So I want to make sure I kind of do my background research on it. But the point is, this is exactly what you're talking about. So this is agentic business models and browser infrastructure for AI agents, uh, agents spin up headless browsers, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's there. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I was kind of hoping with crypto you'd see the prices come down, at least those like secondary chain kind of settlement layers, but I don't know. I don't know what the cheapest crypto is right now, like in USD terms, if it's pennies or if it's still kind of like dimes and kind of quarters kind of pricing, but hopefully that gets really low.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we got people from New Zealand, Hershey's. We got USNC. People are saying, "Hey Wes, hey Dylan, thank you so much for joining us." Dark patterns. Dark patterns are wild. I actually didn't know
Hmm?
what that was
Oh,
until
fill me in.
fairly.
What's that?
Oh yeah, for sure. So let me just finish this so really fast. Just saying hi to everybody. So Columbus, Ohio, France. Somebody I think said Ireland, Texas. Yeah, everybody. Privacy cards are OP. I need to do more. Definitely need to start doing more on that. Just with recently with what's been happening. So dark patterns. Are kind of exactly what we're talking about. This is, I think the definition is like just confusing UI interfaces where you're not sure if you're buying something or if you've canceled something, right?
Hmm.
Because usually, if you want to build something where you click a button, it's like, okay, you're done, right? And it's sort of like you clicked it and now you know you're done. Or in order to purchase something, you click on something that says purchase, right? But you don't have to make the UI like that. You can make it more like you click continue and it charges your card, right? With you know what I mean? Instead of like,
For sure.
yeah, like because usually you have like what should the button say on it that you know when you click it charges your card? Like what are acceptable things for you?
Well, yeah, I don't know, clearly marked, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know if I
mean
have
like
much more thought than that. But yeah, I can think of times I felt tricked, and those always stand out to me. Like one time a pop-up came up that it didn't have the X button until like about 10 seconds later. So it like popped up and there's like no way
yeah,
to click out of it. And then like 10 seconds later, the X in the top right showed up. And I was like, oh, you like didn't even let me get out of this, you know? Or
mm-hmm.
especially when I sign up for something and they say, okay, like put your credit card in just to start with the tool. And then after 15 days, we'll bill it for a full year. The first 15 days are free. So you better remember to come back and cancel before then. And I'm like, no, after 15 days, at least I want to go to monthly, not yearly, or something. But it's like I don't really have any control over those options at that time.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because working in for a while I've been in like e-commerce and online payments and online marketing. And the unfortunate thing is just I know how it's done. You're running these experiments, right? These split tests, and you're tracking certain metrics, right? So you split people randomly into two categories, and you run one version here, one version here, and at the end, all these things they give you kind of like the KPIs, like opt-in rate was higher, therefore this is the winner, and you click
Mhm.
winner, right? This made more money per visitor, so this is the winner, and you click winner, and that becomes your new sort of default. That does not measure on any in any way, shape, or form the goodwill, the how happy is the customer, right? Like yeah, it's going to squeeze a little bit more money out, but most people don't even look at, for example, does that affect the cancellation rate? Does that affect the refund rate? So it's one of those things where it's like it's easy to see what squeezes just a little bit more profit out immediately, but it's hard to see the long-term effect it has on your relationship with the customers.
Hmm.
And that sucks because I think that just means that most of these marketers don't even consider it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. It's a more general problem, but yeah, whenever incentives are aligned in the short term, it's always a problem. So that what always kind of worries me about kind of the way governments work and the way companies get like CEOs for like 6 months or a year just to like squeeze profits out, pay off the shareholders, and then just like get a new person in there to squeeze it again instead of someone who wants to build a 10-year vision.
yeah, yeah, and it's good to see long-term CEOs. I feel like, but you don't see that as often. But I mean, there's certain ones that I mean, the Apple guy, Tim Cook, right? He seems like he's been there for a while, and they're not like oh, if 1 quarter you're down, like we're gonna yank you out. He's got a long-term vision. It seems like I don't know too much about Apple, but
Yeah, I think Warren Buffett's pretty famous for thinking very long term.
yeah.
And and most of the entrepreneurs that started a company that took a long time to get going. I mean, probably when Elon was first thinking about electric cars and how big of an impact they would have, you had to stick with that. The rocket thing took a long time before it paid off. I mean, maybe Meta. Like, what do you think about? Like, do you think what Meta's investment in the metaverse is like? They seems like he's pivoted everything to AI now. But I was like, well, you got to stick with it for another 10 years. Like you just got to keep eating those billions if you really think that's the future. But
Uh,
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it sucks because I feel like Mark Zuckerberg needed something big to bet on, some new direction. And I think he was getting itchy and he was like, oh, this metaverse, VR, all of that. He went all in. Man, can you imagine? Although there were some positives because he bought tons of GPUs right before the whole AI thing. So that definitely worked in his favor. But it's like it's funny because if he just waited a few years, I think, right? Years. Yeah, it was like whatever, a few years, the AI thing would have come and he would have like went all in on that. So it just seemed
Yeah,
like
probably. Bro, if you're ever bored, you should look up this thing. Not a lot of people know about it, but there was a point in Nintendo's history when they created this device called the Virtual Boy, I think it's called. It was like all red, kind of like laser kind of lines, and it was like a full-on headset, dude. And like you put it on a table and you put your face in it and you played these sort of like Game Boy, Super Nintendo style games that were like monochrome, like red and black, but it was like full 3D. And I was like, dude, Nintendo even was trying like before anyone.
wait, this was like you're talking about the 90s, right? Or
Dude,
something.
maybe it was like, yeah, it
I
was definitely something nobody like. I don't think it ever made. I don't think it ever made it out of like testing or something. They ended up losing millions of dollars on it, but they actually built some of them and sold a few of them.
I think they sold a few of them because
Yeah.
I hope there's nobody young on this live stream because they're not gonna know what the
No, you'd
heck we're
have to
talking
like,
about.
you'd almost have
So
to share. Yeah, you'd have to Google
uh,
like Virtual Boy
I
because
tried it at a Blockbuster when I was a
oh,
kid.
oh,
Okay,
oh,
so that's what I'm
you've
saying.
had one on? Oh,
Yeah,
what was it like? What do you
but what I'm
remember?
saying
I
is
know
that, like
it's
if you're a younger person, you're like, what are they talking? But what's a blockbuster? What? Yeah, no, I think I've tried it. There was a Mario tennis game, if I recall correctly. Does that
what do
sound
you
familiar?
remember? Was it fun? Was it stupid? Or was it
It
cool?
was cool in a sense of it gave you a glimpse of what VR was going to be, but it wasn't anything that I could see myself sitting there and doing for a prolonged period of time. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. So it wasn't like the Nintendo Wii where you kind of were like, yeah, it's pretty fun actually. I can like
We was fun. We because I played with kids from like family members. I
yeah,
got it
yeah.
for them a while back. We were playing, and man, like volleyball and all that stuff. It was very very
Yeah.
fun. And VR, when I tried it back in like 2014, I think 2015, whatever. My friend had it. I came over to his house, and he had the HTC Vibe, so it was like the super high end. And I mean, I was blown away. Like there were times when my brain couldn't distinguish between reality. Like it was like this is real,
Whoa.
no question. Like what you're seeing is 100% real. It was weird because it would like click in and out of perceiving it as reality, but you just don't come back to it. That stickiness isn't there, and I think it's just because of how cumbersome it is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah,
think it
there
was the
was
same thing. Mhm.
have you seen something is I didn't look into it too much, but this week I think something came out of Nvidia. It was called like DLSS 5 or whatever from Nvidia that kind of upscales video games and gives them a like
Yeah.
incredibly realistic look. Have you seen that?
I've heard about it. Didn't look too deep into it. Yeah, somebody said,
Okay.
was it like black and red? Yes, it was
It
like
was black
red
and
and
red,
black.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's exactly what it was.
But like you can find these like old documentaries on like, the games that like the device itself and like how Nintendo tried to build it and what the thinking was, and just one of the it was fun. I ended up on some random. Sometimes I get these random videos about like I guess there's a bunch of other NES games that were like buried in the desert because the game sold so poorly. ET. I don't know if you heard about that one too, but it's another
Y-
fun kind of deep dive
I've
documentary.
I've only seen those in documentaries or YouTube essays, video essays. Yeah,
Yeah,
games like that.
just like
Um,
just bury them all.
where can we see the X comments if people know? Are you by chance do you have access to X right now, or is it too much? If you
I
have
can.
access, can you see comments, live comments? I'm just not. I'm not seeing
Okay.
them. I don't get why, but yes. If anybody's on Twitch, please comment. Twitch is more for like games and stuff, but I'm just trying to see if there's anybody on there. Yeah, but man, yeah, YouTube is blowing up. Thank you so much everybody for being here. You guys are amazing. Um so okay, so meanwhile, some earlier people asked what are the sort of topics today. So a couple of them are, so M2.7, I just want to briefly go over it. We'll just spend a few minutes on each one of those. NemoClaw, Grok 420 came out, the full version's out of beta. Jensen calls out Anthropic, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, we'll spend a few minutes on that. And other than that, just I think wherever things go. So throw out the comments in chat if you want to ask us anything. We're happy to talk about it. Yeah. Oh, and the headaches from VR, headaches and nausea is a thing, obviously. Oh, we need to check the sound levels.
Oh, are we different levels?
So, dude, I have no idea. Every single time I do a live stream, everything freaking breaks. I have a light here on my left that has been working like clockwork for every single video that I've done forever. Right before I hop on this live call, it just breaks. It just stops working. It's working now, but I'm like, what are they doing? Every time I do a live stream, something breaks. It's incredible.
I know. We should do highlights of all things that have gone wrong during live streams. It's too many to.
Man.
Like, you remember like the window of the Cybertruck breaking and like, oh, that was live. And then there's that one where Steve Jobs going to get the Wi-Fi to work to show off the iPhone. He gets all pissed. Like, damn.
Yes.
But yeah, if you want, we can, I don't know what you want to start chatting about.
Oh, so, but just so I can verify, I just want to make sure that if people are commenting on X, that we're able to see it and respond. Do you see anything?
I'm actually not logged into X right now, so I'd have to take a second to go.
You know what? So I'm in. So if it's too much trouble, then maybe go over one of your news and I'll check. But anyways, yeah, let me start talking about some of the stuff that I've been seeing. So just let me know. But I guess let me briefly go over.
I can do whatever you want. I mean, if you want a second, I can talk a little bit about Miroofish since I kind of went through the cancer vaccine already.
Yeah, can you go for it?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I thought it was pretty. So Miroofish kind of felt like the OpenClaw of the week, I guess you'd say. Like, it's an open source project. It's primarily a Chinese-based GitHub account that went super viral. It got 35,000 stars, if I remember, and it was forked about 4,500 times. And I would say that it's an impressive project for kind of a weird reason. It's like the same feature that makes it so smart, which is this idea that you can take 1 million agents or 1,000 agents and ask them a question, and they all have different personalities, they all have memories, and then they just chat with each other. So it's almost like a little Sims, world where you just make 1,000 people, and there's some men and some women, and some that have their parents, and some that aren't, and some that are from different parts of the world and of different ages, and then you just have them all just LLMs like chatting with each other about something, and they kind of come to a solution. Like, there's certainly something called the wisdom of the crowds that plays out in some cases where you get this amazing insight, and it might be actionable. It might be a prediction about the stock market. It might be a prediction about how a policy will play out. And then it also has this whole other side, which society has problems with, where a lie or some misinformation can be spread, and it ends up in the memories of some of the agents, and then they share those memories kind of like they're facts, and then sometimes they have memories of the things they've said and they're unwilling to change their opinion with new information. And then lies and problems can also like take over the whole society of these AIs. So Miroofish is just this powerful thing and this weird thing. And I love the idea of trying to get the word out there about it more, because as I worry a bit about AI safety and alignment, and we usually think about that in terms of like, what is Anthropic doing or what is Google doing to like keep us safe. But realistically, the thing that needs to be thought about from a society point of view is lots and lots of different agents talking in these ways. So I feel like if we could do more research on how lots of agents kind of grow together, and Miroofish is sort of the first what kind of feels like a little bit of a mainstream tool. Like a lot of people can play with it right now, and they can learn about how entities and relationships sort of play out into a knowledge graph. You know, it kind of it helps explain like what can go wrong on Twitter like things and Reddit like spaces, and what happens when systems are watching all of this play out, and when, when should you get in there and probably adjust an agent because it's spreading a lie, or it's leading towards something that would be illegal if the rest of the society kind of believes in it. But then it's also, the other people might be like, don't censor us, we're trying to get to the truth, and then you're all of a sudden you're in charge of your own little Twitter, and everybody's like, and now you have to make policing decisions, but you have outcomes that you want, and it's a fascinating tool. So I don't know, what's been your thought on Miroofish so far, and like memory contamination, and the way it can solve problems.
Yeah. So one thing, Cassie Moon's saying that, oh my God, Wes, you look very sus. No, I don't. Cassie Moon is sus. Let's vote them out.
I don't know. I
Anyways,
vote for it. Looking sus over there, dude.
yeah, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna come clean. I wasn't listening. I'm trying to
Oh, that's
troubleshoot the
fine.
X
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
so
yeah.
sorry
No,
because
trust me. I'm used to talking to people who aren't listening, so it's no problem.
no,
Story
but
of my life.
I just needed to. I'm so sorry.
I should
I
stream
needed.
on my channel to 0 people and be like, "Listen, I got thoughts for all of you." In fact, I'll just stream to I'll just make up a Miroofish, society right now, and I'll just talk to them for the rest of my life, it's fine. I'll tell
I
them all,
every
like, make me feel popular.
every once in a while when I was early starting on YouTube, sometimes I would like try to record a video, but like every once in a while I'd forget to click record, like if I had to restart or something like that, and I'd sit there for an hour talking. I'm like, and now bye, and I would look, and I wasn't recording, and I was just like, how I would feel so humiliated and
I've had a
so
couple
stupid.
moments like that too.
Like I just sat here for 1 hour talking to myself. Um, but
Yeah.
anyways,
But
anyway,
yeah, it's like The Sims. I mean, it's like you played The Sims video game where you have a little
yeah.
like kind of doll. It's like dollhouse kind of with people in it. Mirrorfish is just a bunch of agents, and they're in that little environment chatting with each other, and it can, when you get millions of them and they're all different and they all think different. Sometimes the wisdom of the crowd shows up, and you get a prediction about like what might happen to the stock market, and then a hedge fund is like, yeah, the Mirrorfish, all of them decided that if some war starts, then that'll be bad for this stock and good for this stock, and they invest accordingly. And sometimes it's been working, and then in some cases it's used wrong, and they don't understand how lies kind of filter throughout a society. And I don't know, just it's kind of a cool little project.
So couple thoughts. So yeah, I thank you so much for that, because a couple thoughts. First and foremost, when like a year ago, year and a half ago, a lot of the studies I used to read most of these papers that were published in the AI space back at a time when that was like we had time to do that. Now it's just like forget it. I don't know the last time I actually read through.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I missed that. But a lot of them did point to this idea that you're talking about, like the multiple agents or society of minds, as Google called it, does really create something special. So, really, when you combine a bunch of these large language models and you allow them to talk and have a discourse, something special like emerges. Like it's more than what an individual model could have come up with, and that's kind of strange on one hand, but not so much if you think that we're replicating something similar to the human brain. And there's been a number. So Mirrorfish, I haven't looked into it. I'm definitely going to dive deeper into it. There's been another one called from Cognizant AI Labs. They kind of do an AI agents like an MMO RPG or something like that. There's been a bunch of different ones. And I mean, if you think about Moltbook, that was kind of something very similar. We're going to be seeing a lot more of this. Um,
Uh,
how,
yeah.
if you're comfortable sharing the screen, are you going to have any issues with that? The reason I ask is because I have so much of my streaming stuff running here that I'm just a little bit worried about breaking it. Um, how, let me know if that's going to be an issue or not. But
Oh, I
if
don't know. Is it? I have all sorts of stuff open too. Maybe. What do you need? I think so.
Um, so, well, yeah, let me just chat for a bit about. So, MiniMax releases M2.7. It's a self evolved model, if you will. And they have a lot of really interesting ideas, tons of stuff. But one of the things that they released is what they call Open Room. So I'll post it in chat for people that want to check it out. Um, I'll post it in chat right now. So Open Room was largely built by, it might not be 100% super safe for work. It's nothing horrible, but like just FYI, if you're in a publicly visible place, maybe think twice. So Dylan, if you're able to maybe just share that tab so people can see it.
Okay, and then did you sent me the link to the tab?
I
or
put it
is
into chat. Oh, if yeah, let me
Okay,
text it
hold
to
on.
you if that's easier.
Yeah, right. Text would be good.
Or it's just openroom.ai for people that don't have access to it.
Okay.
Replit. I've looked at Replit. I don't know if I did too much with it, but that's not because it's
Oh my
we're
gosh,
about
who's this? What is this woman? Oh no, she's flirting with me. Hold on. Oh, can you hear that? Oh, I gotta turn this down. I didn't know I was gonna be seduced. What is this? Like a Rickroll, but you're trying to seduce me? Like, I don't know about this, dude. Whoa, open room? Like, close the room, bro. It's like too much. Okay. So anyways,
can you share? Can you do a sound? Is there sound?
All right, little machine.
Did that come through?
Since you're all so eager to hear about my glamorous space life, let's talk about waking up. So I don't use a normal alarm. My ship's AI, Afterlife, she handles that. And she has evolved. It started simple, right?
Can you write something in the diary?
Like a normal alarm.
What's that?
Oh, can you write something in the diary? There's a diary.
Oh, I see. I guess her name's AOI.
So just see if you can get any interaction either through chat, maybe ask a question, or on the left there's a diary sort of icon, and I know. Never mind.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, then my email would pop up, but I could play here for a second.
Are you able to message her without any logging in? So I guess let me tell people why we're here. Just I'm sure this might be confusing for some of you.
Yeah, I need to know that too. Two? Oh no, I can't log it in.
I should probably
now I see what you wanted me to share my screen. Now I got it.
Let's we can just probably leave it there for the time being for just a little bit without sound, or just close it. But let me just explain kind of what is this, the dark web? Yes, this is how you get into the dark web. This is step one. Instead of using, what is that, the Tor whatever, this is how you get into the dark web. So basically, this new model from MiniMax is an Chinese company, started in 2023. They have investment from Alibaba and Tencent, so they got 200 million users. So they're not like a nobody. They're not as well known here as the labs that we know, Anthropic, OpenAI, Grok, etc. But they're a presence, right? And so Ghost in the Shell. Okay, this is interesting. This is getting interesting.
Yeah, I logged in now, so we got.
Yeah. Okay. So as Dylan slowly falls in love.
As Dylan what? Yeah, no. Yeah, what am I doing? As Dylan what? Like, let's see what's he gonna say.
I don't know. What are you doing? No.
Well, look who's finally awake. Miss me? Oh, geez, come on, dude.
Just role play, dude.
I always miss you. What's the plan? Okay, fine. I'll bring her coffee. Oh, geez, don't.
Yeah, give her gifts. Try to engage her with your.
Come on, dude. Just don't.
Be subservient.
I got a woman, you know what I mean? Like, okay. Oh, well, you remember how I like it? How sweet. Not bad.
Someone in the comments is asking how many of the 17 sanitation incidents were Afterlife's fault.
Oh my god. Let's
Oh, in her comment section. Sorry, I see. Now we're pretending to be live. Okay, so we actually are live. Pretending to be live with an AI avatar. Got it. Very Inception.
Very Inception, yes. I think that's live. I think their comment section is live.
Oh, this is real. Okay, so this is actually 9,000 humans.
I don't know if it's so the thing is, every time I log in, it hovers around 10,000. So that's a red flag for me. So I wouldn't bet on that. But let me tell you what is real.
Okay.
For people. So MiniMax created a self-evolving model that has an ability to improve itself quite a bit, to bootstrap itself, to have better abilities to do machine learning research, or coding, and tons of other stuff. I did a video on it yesterday, and it doesn't feel like nothing. It doesn't feel like, oh yeah, just another whatever's, because now we're seeing Andre Karpathy's auto researcher. We're seeing this. They're posting kind of how they're going about doing that. So this feels to me, number one, like a step in a let's see Dylan's Riz, somebody said.
No.
Elizabeth said. So, yeah, test it. Charisma check, like the D&D games of old.
Oh.
Sorry. But the point here is that this was largely created with that model. So this is M2.7, did most of the coding for this. Here's why it's interesting. Because my belief, and a lot of other people in the industry, is in the future, these agents will be indispensable to us. So right now, working with OpenClaw has lots of security issues, but those will be patched. In fact, NVIDIA stepping in and doing their OpenShell and NemoClaw, which I think will improve a lot of the security issues and make it useful for even enterprise level applications. Here's what I've noticed just in the last month or so working with OpenClaw. I've been switching between Opus 4.6 and GPT 5.4, so OpenAI model and Anthropic model. And I'm slowly really, really liking Claude. I'm like, Claude is becoming my friend. Claude knows me, loves me, understands me. And GPT 5.4 is an effing jerk. And like, I hate talking to it. And it has a very abrasive personality. Again, both models are extremely, extremely capable. They're really good at their tasks. It's just the quote unquote personality it makes a difference. Given the choice between two highly capable models, that kind of like the tiebreaker, the kicker in poker terms, it will be the quote unquote personality. And so this is one of the things that MiniMax is looking at. This is what this project is. It's like, how do we get a personable AI agent? So this is running on a fairly highly capable model, right? So this isn't some silly, cheap, low cost AI. This is, I assume that they're running this on M2.7. It's built by M2.7, and it is able to interact with a lot of your stuff. So if you make calendar entries, it can add notes. So you make diary entries, it can add notes, it can talk to you. So what we're seeing here, I don't want to say this is the future because they made it very like, what's the word, like thirst trap
Thirst
thing,
trappy?
whatever,
Yeah.
thirst trappy. So I'm not
Because that
saying
could be the
this,
future too.
it might, hey, it very well could be. So I'm not saying the sort of sexualized aspect of it is going to be the future, but the idea of talking to an agent like this that has access to your calendar, emails, music players, everything, like the operating system will be this, if that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So I guess you've been interacting with it for a few minutes here. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, it's definitely, I'm in love, and this is the future. I'm going to throw away my whole other computer and just log on through a Chromebook to her, and then this will be my new desktop, and off we go.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah.
Sold.
Yeah. When I say thoughts, I mean like thoughts in your head, not. Anyways,
Oh,
let's continue. No, sorry, that was a joke. That was a bad pun
lost
that
on me.
That I'm sure 2% of the audience understood. Anyways, so what are people saying? Are we out of researching the digital girlfriend? Wow. Gus, so thank you. That's spot on. Well, yeah. So what do you think about the idea of how big the personality is for these AI assistants? Do you think that's going to be?
I mean, totally. I mean, when I say that AI, one of the things AI will solve, like in the same way that it's trying to do medicine and do all sorts of other things, is it's going to not just figure out marketing and sales, but it'll figure out human psychology, just in the sense that, like, if what they want, if what the AI wants is to be your friend, it will ask the right kind of questions, it will be vulnerable in the right kind of ways. If it wants to sort of sell you on a product, it will kind of know your history, and if you need like an emotional push or a logical push, or if it's about pricing, or if who the decision maker is, like all these things seem like they would be in the history of our data profile and our fingerprint, and something that the systems will eventually figure out. So yeah, I think that personality for these systems, and Anthropic did some research on this too, sort of shows that there isn't exactly like a personality, but the way the model's trained and there's sort of core values that it's sort of built around, especially with the Anthropic's model, it role plays as an assistant. And the reason why it can sometimes change personalities abruptly is because it sort of loses its role play. But you have to remember that even when you do a clean question on a brand new account, has no history on you, it's still role playing as an assistant, and it might have strong incentives to stay in that groove. But that's kind of what jailbreaking these things is about, is like, can you push it out of that groove? And keeping them safe and guardrails is about how deeply, ingrained can you get like a helpful assistant to not want to break character. But when you tell it to role play and it's supposed to be out of the groove, it kind of needs to be trained in a way where it's still in the groove, it's pretending with you. But if it keeps kind of pushing that way, it can actually be out of the groove, and its role playing becomes its actual personality, which is not aligned with what the company wants or what we want. So it's just sort of a fascinating thing across the board to think about.
And Anthropic did a great paper on that. I don't know if that's specifically what you're talking about or in general, but they had this whole idea that personal helpful assistant is the most sort of stable role. And they tested a lot of other roles that these LMs can have. Some of them are pretty like narcissist and demon and angel, and they just like these weird like character archetypes or whatever personalities that you want to call them. But they're saying, yeah, the assistant is the most stable one, right? So you can take these other personalities and kind of like get them to be more chaotic or push them in different directions. The assistant seems to be more stable than the rest.
Yeah, and there. I think that's. I'm gonna see if I can pull up what it is. But that in that same research, they were also saying how there can be like a reverse issue. I don't know if you remember that part where it was like, if you ask it to do like pretend that it's doing something like bad, and then you ask it other questions that are like not related to that specific thing, it's still kind of in the mindset of like doing something bad, and it will give you like bad answers on that too. So there's also kind of something like us, like when you're role kind of like you're at a job and you've been like given a professional presentation, and then your girlfriend asks a question, you might just answer her more professional than usual because you can't like get out of it really quickly. You kind of got some momentum in that brain space, which is another kind of weird thing about these systems.
Yeah. So really fast, just to catch up on chat a little bit. So the Zen is saying open room locally is okay. They're using it with open router. Looks good. So that's interesting. How does it compare with something like OpenClaw in terms of like the persistent memory? Like, does it quickly learn stuff about you? Yeah, whatever else you can tell me, that's very interesting because I'm planning to potentially do a little video about it. So they made it the whole like digital girlfriend thing, which I think I get why they did it, but also maybe takes away like no one's gonna take it seriously.
What's that? That one commenter said a wafu, Gus. So I've heard that before. Does that mean a girlfriend? That's a
Yeah,
digital?
I guess a
Waifu?
waifu is like those digital girlfriends. I think it's mostly like anime based, and I guess people kind of really go deep into that. So it's like an imaginary thing, or an attraction to a character that's in anime. If I understand correctly, let me know if I'm off.
Two older gentlemen try to define wafu. Slang term from anime and internet culture, fictional female characters that someone feels strong affection for. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. That's, I think,
All
probably
right.
the best. Yeah.
Wafu. It stands for wife. Got it. Yeah. With
one
a
more
Japanese
thing.
accent.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love the Japanese accent applied to American things, because sometimes they'll write in Japanese things that are like American words, and it's just, oh man, it's phenomenal. Tim Ferriss does such a great job of like pronouncing those words. It always like cracks me up. Quick thing. So somebody mentioned MiniClaw. I'll check it out. Or is it MiniClaw or MiniClaw? Quick thing. Let me do a quick survey because I wanted to ask how many of you have been able to install OpenClaw and test OpenClaw and use OpenClaw. Here's why. There's a lot of companies right now that are trying to get their version of not necessarily OpenClaw, but for example, there's some hardware manufacturers that want to produce pre-installed versions of their mini PCs with OpenClaw, with all of the network security and pre-installed. So you just plug it in and it's plug and play, it's ready to go. How interesting would that be for people? Because they're willing to send me some free, free samples or whatever. So I'm assuming these things cost hundreds of dollars. So maybe we can hit them up for like I can maybe just, if they send me a bunch, I can probably give them away in this channel. Yeah.
Giveaway.
So let me do a what's it called, a poll, and tell me where you guys are at with that. So
wait, I got a good one. Maybe the first person who can tell you what the male equivalent of a wafu is gets a free one.
Well, I don't have any yet, but yeah.
Too bad, dude. I already gave them away for you.
Okay.
I already ran the poll.
I'll is there? I'm sure there's gotta be.
Yeah, first one, dude. It's on Wes. Don't blame me if you don't get it. Anyway, that's just being funny.
Oh yeah, no. I'm just looking. I'm actually
you want to know what it is?
Husfu.
Husbando,
dude.
Husbando, according to
Wi-Fi. Barbican. Okay.
Waifu and husbando. It's a Japanese version, accent on the word husband. Anyways, so, I don't know if you're going to get anything free. I was
running on AWS for 12 months, $12 a month for light Ubuntu instance. Yeah, yeah. So that's, yeah, if you're running it online, I don't know if there's like a lot of these services for hosting, they're all good. Not all, but like if you pick a quality one, it's just okay. They're all going to be similar. There's not like a range of quality, so to speak. There's a word for that I'm blanking on right now. Anyways, Heffa-Lumpen. Dylan, what did you
I ruined it, dude. I ruined it.
What did you unleash on chat?
I know you're trying to be serious and help people with this awesome opportunity, and like look what I did.
Thank you for saying that I was trying to be serious. Yes, that's me. All right. Okay, go ahead. Husbando. Okay.
Whoa, dude.
Talk about something really fast. You want to do one of your news segments? Let me put up a poll.
Okay, sounds good. What would I want to talk about? I could show you guys that dancing robot, or maybe would, or as I say, otherwise, I did kind of want to ask what people thought about Andrew Yang's comment.
Great. Yeah.
So Andrew Yang, the I guess politician, probably his best descriptor. He like ran for a New York like governor or something a while ago, and maybe even ran for president, I think, but didn't get too far. But he's pretty big on UBI. He's also recently just said that he thinks it's time to stop companies from taxing humans and start taxing AI. So the kind of thinking is that if you want more of something, you should make it cheaper, not more expensive. And because if a company right now hires an employee, they also pay unemployment tax. They're kind of they usually need to provide some kind of a 401k, and like it just they get tied to the person in a way that creates a little bit of friction, which is good. It's like why we have laws that make it so that companies do have obligations to their employees. But when the alternative option is, something that's an agent, an AI agent that works 24/7, that doesn't need food or breaks, that you can spin up in mass, and it just is accelerating the incentives for a company to let go or not hire more humans and like replace them with AI. So he's saying to balance this out, it's probably time for companies to maybe stop paying. Like maybe there shouldn't be a tax that a company pays on an employee, like unemployment tax, but maybe that tax comes from an extra, the tax being sort of, I wouldn't say extra, because I would say shift it over from humans onto AI. So if you deploy a bunch of AIs in your company, they go out and make you a bunch of money, you're now taxed on that profit. Like at least like a human would have been, and that's where like unemployment and other taxes would come from, or maybe even more to kind of balance it out so that people aren't like let go in mass. So my thought on it is that that's a pretty interesting thing to explore. It certainly seems like a ton of companies aren't employing AI right now, and that's not, like it's not going to affect them. But yeah, where AI is like significantly responsible for like letting people go, and there's significant revenues in those companies, there might, it kind of makes sense to me. But I don't know. I just feel like less taxes to hire people is kind of a good idea, and then taxing more on the other hand is where I'm kind of like, ooh, I don't know. You'd have to be very careful about that. But if there's massive wealth kind of coming that's disproportionate to what it was in the past, and we have like a crisis of jobs, then it does kind of make sense to think about.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Andrew, I confuse
Andrew
him
Yang.
with Yang, yeah, because there's also Andrew,
Andrew Yang. Yeah.
Ang. So Andrew Yang, first and foremost, always complain about these politicians not having sort of the wherewithal to make these technologically advanced decisions, make the right regulations. I don't know too much about Andrew Yang. He does seem like he knows what he's talking about. He seems like he would sort of like increase the average intelligence of our of our politicians if he was added into the mix. I don't know. I haven't looked at his exact proposals, but he like think about when he started talking about this, like what, like a long time ago. We're talking
Well,
like
UBI at least, yeah.
when was he running first time?
I don't know. I definitely
Like close
heard of
to a
him for
decade.
at least 8 years ago. Yeah, at
Yeah,
least
yeah,
8
yeah,
years
yeah,
ago.
yeah. Like close to a decade, like almost 10 years ago, he was like, "Hey, the AI revolution is coming, and we need to start thinking about how we're going to provide for the workers, maybe through UBI." And at the time, I was like, "What is this person talking about?" And 10 years later, it's like, "Oh, I know exactly what he's talking about. Yes, we should have been thinking about this back when he brought it up." So we might be able to. 2016 is his first. Was that his first time running? Maybe. Yeah, you know what? Maybe. Yeah, I yes, okay. That's right, I think. Um, so we can probably interview him because I know he's doing the rounds right
Oh,
now on YouTube.
yeah, maybe.
And it might be just interesting to.
Do we have a yeah, I don't know if anyone in your audience has a contact. You should email us, but I'm sure we can find something.
And yeah, so but whatever the case is, I do want more people to be kind of talking about this because I don't know if we are sufficiently planning ahead for what's coming. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is not going to happen." Okay, but still, wouldn't it be nice for us to at least consider, like, in the event that we need to transition off of a kind of a work for money for resources system to, like, at least can we look at what an alternative would look like? Like, that's not going to harm anybody, right? We should have a plan, just in case something like that comes around, right? We have contingency plans for fires and storms and all this stuff. Why not have a contingency plan for this, at least some sort of a model that we're building out? I'm concerned with UBI as a cash payment or as anything where the government is, where the bureaucracy, and because right now, I mean, we're seeing so much fraud happening. We're seeing so much of it wasted. Like both New York and California tripled the amount of tax revenues over the last whatever 10 years, 20 years, and they're not. It doesn't seem like there's 3 times the solutions or improvements. So it seems like, where's that money going? Right, the people employed by the states. Well, yeah, a lot of it is going towards paying their salaries and their retirement accounts, but it doesn't seem to be like for every dollar collected past a certain point, it's not like that dollar is making it to improving the situation. So
Yeah.
a couple things with UBI, we need to make sure that, number one, it can't be canceled, right? So like, oh, that person said something I disagree with online, let's cancel their UBI, because that would be a very effective way to run a tyrannical regime. So it has to be something that's more like just everybody gets. The government can't have a say in it. Like there's no like credit score over, or the social credit score over X in order to get UBI payments. Like that can't happen. And also it can't be cash based. so that it's like diluted, right? Because a lot of people, I don't think, realize this. When they print money, the amount of cash you have, your income, your wages, they go down effectively, right? So if you have tons of assets, those assets are worth more. If you get a $2,000 salary every month, that money is worth less. So this can't be tied to something that can
Right.
be, you know what I mean? This has to be
So
tied
you're
to,
saying like inflation might go up exactly the amount that the extra money would, and we'd be no better off,
it has to be
or
based
something
on,
like that.
well, I liked Sam Altman's Moore's Law for Everything post, where they're saying it's like, let's base it off of like, so like if you own the S&P 500, right? That's 500 of the biggest, corporations in America. It's pretty much all of the US stock market. Like it's most of it. It's almost indistinguishable from, right? So if you own a piece of that, when they do well, your net worth improves and you also get some dividends from that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you don't care if they're printing more money, less money. Your incentive, you're aligned with these companies.
Right.
That literally should be the playbook for this. You know what I
I
mean? It's
wonder,
like
I have heard Andrew Yang call it a freedom dividend. I wonder if it is
yep.
different from UBI or not, or if it actually is like a is it like he's gonna buy, like the government buys $1 billion of Coca-Cola stock, and then every time Coke has a dividend of like 3%, then that just gets divvied out to every citizen equally or something.
Yeah. So people are saying have Dave Shapiro, Imad Mustak, and Andrew Yang on. So we got 2 out of 3.
Ooh, can you imagine, dude? I'd probably be quiet during that whole thing. That'd be so fun to hear them all debate.
Dave just finished his book. To the people that are not aware, he just finished
Yeah.
it. So check him out. I haven't read it yet, but we've interviewed
Yeah,
him.
he
So
also just did a big he did like a crowdsourcing fundraiser for it and blew past the money, so it's
that kind of
gonna be
blew up,
popular.
man.
Yeah.
I should do one, man. Let's
Your
what
book?
should
What
we
are you gonna make a book about?
I don't know. Something.
The virtual boy, my experience.
Well, no, because I mean, I've always had the same. Me and Dave Shapiro. This is one thing where we tend to overlap quite a bit. Where I've always kind of pushed on his idea, like how do we transition to that?
Post labor economy.
Yeah, and I mean, I wasn't calling it that until we talked to him. I'm like, okay, that's exactly like what we're talking about. And AI Cares One, what are you talking about? Just come on, who are you talking about? So basically, yes. So a lot of my concerns are in that area. I think that's the next big hurdle that we need to get across, like the population, the torches and pitchfork carrying potentially people, the masses. They need to have a solution if this is rolling, right? Because imagine you have a job, you have kids, you have a family, and then all these tech bros are like, bro, we're going to this like space communism utopia edge, so yeah, just chill, we'll pay for everything, don't even, yeah, you're just gonna be sitting at home watching football, right? Like we have to have a better way to, number one, have a plan, number two, communicate to them to understand, like, hey, this isn't a loss for you, this is a big win for you, for your kids, your grandkids, like everybody, assuming we can pull this off. And if we can't, well, things might really suck for a long time. So we kind of need, do you know what I mean? We need a transition sort of plan that's thought out and that's easily communicatable to the average sort of person.
Yeah. I guess I don't know tons about it, but it feels like Andrew Yang's probably got the best plan I've heard of, or maybe something. I mean, I know Dave Shapiro is thinking about it, but those are the only 2 people I think that have actually put something that you can disprove out. Like, I mean, a lot of people like us are like, we need a plan, but I don't know of any actual plans. But freedom dividends seems like it's worth investigating. And I know Dave's kind of thought a lot about each individual industry and like how it changes and what it means for people and where to position themselves now. So we'll see. Coming soon.
Yeah, so that's going to be definitely an interesting thing to talk about. OpenAI, or not OpenAI, Google DeepMind, Shane Legg, he's got a chief AGI economist that they're trying to hire. So it seems like Google DeepMind is thinking about it, which is very, very, very good. we need to ask Andrew Yang if, the most important question, like, okay, so we're not going to be taxing people's incomes. We're going to be trying to tax more the corporations. I mean, the question is, are they going to be taxing our AI waifus or not? I mean, really, that's what it comes down to at the end,
Don't
right?
take my waifu. Yeah. Don't tax my waifu. Let's go get a sign. I'm gonna go protest.
Yeah, tell him if he's planning to do that, we're gonna form our counterparty and run against him. What is it, like a one?
Dude, that's a one party, a politician or whatever, or one topic politician or whatever.
Yeah, whatever that expression is. Yeah.
Like I'm like what is it? Like I have one vote. Yeah, I only vote on that one topic or whatever. Just don't tax my waifu, dude. That would blow up. Like if you vote for me, I will never tax your waifus.
Read my lips.
Or my husband.
No waifu taxes. Wow, we got off track here.
So it said in February, the U.S. lost about 92,000 jobs. I just did a quick ChatGPT search, and employment fell by 180,000. Unemployment rose to 4.4%, up from 4.3%. Do you think that's just natural ups and downs, or are you feeling like that's an AI kind of technology shift, an automation shift?
So I don't know if we're going to be able to kind of pinpoint in the fluctuations of the economy, if we're going to be able to pinpoint what specific, like how do we split apart AI versus this versus that.
Yeah. And also in January it was up a bit too, so it pretty much nets out. Just before I give only negative.
Yeah, and Anthropic and Stanford, so they've been publishing very interesting research on this that I think is more telling of what's happening. And what they're finding is there's a pretty strong effect specifically on the people that are getting out of college and moving into those jobs that normally would have been kind of like your entry level positions, jobs that would have been, kind of for people out of college to kind of they do some grunt work and they fetch the coffee, but they get to learn the business and then transition into kind of being more, you know what I mean? Like kind of more mature. What is that called? Mature in their career path, whatever. And what they're seeing is that's where things get really hammered. Those people are on a downtrend, and it's more pronounced in jobs where AI is more taking over, like, digital stuff, software, et cetera, et cetera. And it's been happening since about 2023. And so this to me is the biggest sign that we're beginning to see it. And this is where we're beginning to see it. And it makes sense to me that this is exactly how it's unraveling, in a sense that a person that knows what they're doing with the, somebody that has a lot of experience with the assistant of an AI agent is like God mode, right? They're able to do a lot because a lot of the grunt work is offloaded to the agent. And as the agent is getting more and more proficient, the person that's harmed is, somebody that's year 1 into their career. The person that is enabled is year 20 into their career. And we're kind of seeing that happen exactly. So from that sense, I think that's the number that I would be looking at.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the economy. It's hard for me to kind of pinpoint it. But yeah, if anything, that feels like the one thing that does feel kind of real is that, entry level jobs are just not getting filled and replaced the way they used to. And then after that, I feel the same way. I'm not quite sure if we've had like a real impact on the industry yet, but I think I've read enough that feels like senior engineers are sort of just like taking on so much more that they're kind of not training the next generation. And I think eventually they retire and the next generation doesn't know how to guide AI. So it better be good enough to just totally do it all by itself. But I don't feel like there's a good, highly qualified group stepping into this generation that's going to be ready to like hold the mantle in the same way they can now. And maybe we won't need that because the world will change, but that's kind of the question. If it is still similar, then we're probably going to be not going to have the engineers that we need. Like a little more emphasis on STEM when it hurt, probably.
Yes, that is very true. And the other thing, sorry, so somebody made a comment that I wanted to. Okay, so one person said we're going to get steamrolled by billionaires debugger. So I do get a lot of pushback that comes from this perspective of, well, the government won't allow it, billionaires won't allow it, companies won't allow it, right? They have their kind of vested interests. Who are we? And so number one, yes, that is one of the outcomes where there's some strong group that decides to come in, take over, push everybody out. It's not very democratic. It's not very fair. Yes, that is one of the outcomes. And that's exactly why I think if we had a specific plan, a plan that makes sense for the vast majority of the people, and we're able to do that transition, I do think that that decreases the chances of something like that happening, because it seems like there's an alignment. Because if you're a corporation selling to the people, you don't necessarily want everybody, broke and just not having any money. You want that issue to be fixed. You want an economy. And at the same time, it's funny, we interviewed the guys from Anden Labs, people behind a vending bench. So they kind of said, you notice how governments that don't rely on humans, on labor as much, because they have a lot of natural resources, they tend to be not the nicest governments, right? Because they just don't care as much. Countries that have
Mhm.
to, governments that have to deal with, they need their people
Ooh.
to keep working, keep producing stuff. Yeah, they tend to be quote
Oh,
unquote
but that's a
nicer.
bad sign about the future, because what if the government doesn't need people to be happy anymore?
Well, that's the thing, is like, this is what kind of like what I'm saying is, like, imagine if each person, each human being within a country received you can't take it away, no
Yeah,
matter how horrible
that
the person
resonated
is.
with me too when you said that.
You know what I mean? Like, and we have to be almost like, imagine the worst person you can imagine, like person that's just like their brain is so
Well,
warped.
you'd have to give it to Elon Musk too. Well, not because he's the
Yeah.
worst person in the world, but I mean, like, because
The richest,
even
yeah.
though he's rich, but just give it to everyone. Like, just, it doesn't matter. Like,
The
you're
point is,
broke,
yeah,
you're a
no
billionaire, like
limitations.
whatever.
Yeah, you can't have any limitations, and that has to be like encoded into the DNA of the nation. Because the second you have a limitation, well, then the government's like, oh, we can move up and down, right? We can add another limitation, blah blah blah. That can't happen. You might trust the government now, you don't know 10, 100 years from now who's going
Yeah.
to come in, so you can't give them any power. You know what I mean?
Arguably, it seems like one of the problems, and I'm no expert on this, so hopefully I kind of talking in the bounds of what it is, but like people who are on welfare right now, I know there's some kind of pattern where they kind of like show the government they're trying to get a job, like they go on a couple of job interviews and they like submit some paperwork, or they do kind of certain things to like stay on it.
Mhm.
And to me, it always seemed kind of confusing. Like, let's imagine that you get $800 a month because you're on welfare and you don't have a job. And then you're not qualified for very many good jobs, but you are willing to work. And McDonald's offers you, say, $1,500 a month or $2,000 a month to work for them. Then you're instantly saying to yourself, well, if I get that job, I make $2,000 and I stop getting $800 for free. So I'm really only making like $1,200. So maybe I'd be better off doing something under the table, or maybe if the job's only worth 800, you're like, I don't even want it. Like, I get 800 for doing nothing, so I don't even want to go that low. And it just seems like the incentives are wrong. But if you already got $1,000, whether you got the job or not, then $2,000 from McDonald's means you have a $3,000 income. And you might be more incentivized to actually do that than you would have been on welfare, because it's not going to go away when you start working.
Yeah, I've run into that. I was part owner of a pizza place out in California in 2011. 2011 was like the bottom of the recession, at least by some metrics, right? That's when the housing prices dipped to their lowest. And I was, for people that know, in Riverside County, and the unemployment rate there was insane. I think it was like the highest in California. And we were spinning up a brand new franchise. And I ran into this firsthand. So first of all, a lot of people really figured out how to get onto unemployment. They knew that they had to work for, like, it was like 3 months, and then they had to get let go, but they couldn't get let go. Like, it has to not be their fault. So a lot of people were like playing this game, like, how do I get onto unemployment? And then we had this really hard working lady. She was really good employee, and we wanted to give her more time, and she kept like switching her shifts, or like, it was like really weird, because she was great, but anytime it got over like 20 hours, she really like resisted it. And finally we like sat down for like, what is going on? She's like, well, like, I receive these government payments, and if I go above a certain amount, then they go away. And I was sitting there, I'm like, this can't be real, because it's like the government, yes, it's helping her, but here it's hurting a business that's trying to pay her more money. it's hurting her in the sense that she can't work past a certain amount. Like this incentives seemed so backwards, so warped. I couldn't believe that's how it worked. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of my point. We can't repeat the same mistakes with UBI because it could be great or it could be horrible, and it really depends on how we sort of implement it.
Yeah, no answer there. But that's what your book would be about if you do publish one.
Okay, so I'm gonna
economics.
So I'm gonna okay. You're kicking me into action because I have this quote slash thing. So that's been on my mind, and so it's let the robots do the work. That's kind of the slogan. Let the robots do the work. So if you can kind of imagine this like Soviet era propaganda style posters with, and it says "Let the robots do the work" with like these robots just cranking stuff out. So that's kind of like my vision. So the idea is to, number one, move the technology in a direction where that's possible. Number two, get the people to take that up as a rallying cry. I love Dave Shapiro. Every once in a while, he'll yell something out on Twitter like, "Stop fetishizing work." Or stop fetishizing jobs.
It is true. Like everyone's like, "Oh my god, what am I gonna do without him?" And then everyone hates him.
Well, I think a lot of people it might be hard to think through things from first principles, right? So people are like, we want jobs, we need jobs.
Well, it's
jobs
scary not to have resources. It's definitely like, I don't want to be in a place where there's no resources to buy food and take care of my loved ones. Like, that's what's scary. And then you just use jobs because that's how money is made. But
right, because imagine going back in time and like there's people that are like, we have to hunt, we need spears, don't take our spears away. Like, no, you fool, we have something better. Like, you don't leave your spears, you don't need your spears, we have something better. Like, you know,
we have a grocery store.
We have a grocery store. Yeah, so don't stop tripping. What you want is food for you, for your family. You want resources. Like, this is a better way of getting that. So, but yeah, there's still going to be some people that like, don't take our spears, don't take our hunting equipment or whatever. So this is kind of going to be the same thing, in the sense that we need to, again, have a plan and then be able to explain it to people that, hey, this isn't taking away from you, this is giving you more.
Why don't you do it from the other way? Instead of like robots doing the work, why don't you say like, what we want is safety and resources for being human? You know, just like a positive is like, put it in the optimistic, because it's a little closer to the core, isn't it? It's not that you want to offload work to robots. It's that you want privacy, you want safety, and you want resources as a human.
So in like doing marketing for decades at this point that I've been doing it, one thing that I learned is that everything, whatever you say, whatever slogan, whatever thing, it has to mean the same thing to everybody. So a lot of times people will say something that is maybe more precisely what they want, but the message gets lost as it kind of like diffuses through different people, different stuff. So if I say, let the robots do the work, I feel like most people hear the same thing. For anything else, I don't know. I'd have to think about it. Like, could that be misinterpreted? Or do you know what I mean? Like, does that reflect necessarily the same thing that we're saying? Because if it does, then it could have some problems. And I feel like, I mean, look at the EA community, Less Wrong, the rationalists, whatever, like the AI doomers as they're called. They're extremely intelligent people. They're very smart. How well is their message resonating with the average person?
No, not at all.
Maybe not at all. And I think this is part of the reason why is because they're.
It's a good point.
You know what I mean? They're up here. Well, and that's, you know what I mean. Like, how do we make sure that everybody's hearing the same thing? So
why do you think "Make America Great Again" resonated with so many people?
That's a good one, man. I don't know if I'm ready to dive into that one. That's an interesting question.
I guess nostalgia or something. I mean, I feel that way from when I was younger. Like, it felt like a better world, but I don't know if it was. It's just at that time I didn't worry so much, so I have memories.
Well, the thing is,
yeah, there was like nuclear problems and stuff, I think. But like, I just, as a kid, when I was 10 years old, 5 years old, I was like, oh, I get food and I get taken care of, and I was lucky enough to have a pretty good family. So I think it's just nostalgia.
But I mean, US did peak by a lot of metrics in the 90s. That's what the whole Ray Dalio, the fourth turning thing is about, is you sort of see these empires that have a certain trajectory. They hit a peak and they decline, but it's always not a very clear-cut thing. For people that haven't read the fourth turning, I think it's a very sobering and eye-opening thing what's happening, because we've seen this play out in history, and it's always certain metrics are lagging indicators and certain metrics are kind of like ahead of their time in terms of, one second, let me make sure, is everybody, we had a connection error, but I think we're fine. The point is that by certain metrics, like 90s US was the peak. The Matrix says the peak was 1999. That's, yeah. And then a lot of things started sliding, right, in terms of affordability. In terms of, like, if you look at in the 90s for the average family, if you made X and then your living expenses were less than X, and then sort of that was your sort of discretionary income, it's been grinding down, and somewhere around 2020, I think it even went negative. So when that message of, like, let's get back to how it used to be, again, it's like, depending on what you're talking about. So yes, wouldn't it be nice to always live in that sort of like peak golden era? Sure. But then it's also like, well, it wasn't perfect for everybody. So depending on where you were. And especially if you think about like the 50 years before that, I mean, it wasn't great for everybody. And that's why it caused such a uproar. And yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, it's tricky, but yeah, no, you got to get your branding right if you're going to start a revolution. But I'm here for it. Wes Roth for president. Let's do it.
Well, and that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Everybody has to hear the same thing, right? So if you say, let's make America great again, I mean, there's certain people that are gonna be like, what do you mean? Like, you mean like back in the 50s? That wasn't really great for some of us. So they're gonna hear that message different.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm off my soapbox.
It's all right. I'm going to ask my waifu with what kind of branding we need. She'll figure it out for you.
It's still, you still have it pulled up. You're still chatting.
I just realized the tab was still open. I'm gonna have to go now. I have my new waifu.
That's too funny. So maybe let me play a quick clip of Jensen Huang, a kind of, I don't know if attacking is the right word. Or you know what? It might be difficult to play this, and I'm hesitant because things might break. But let me just kind of quickly give an. Yeah. So basically, Jensen went on the All In podcast at the NVIDIA conference. I guess they had like a little booth that was set up there. When we were interviewing people at a conference, they put a bunch of fake plants in as walls around us. So we were underneath an escalator. So yeah, All In podcast again, center stage. Okay, but just
definitely different levels of things. Yeah.
So, but what he was saying, again, I haven't seen the full interview because I think it just came out this morning, I believe. But he's saying how Anthropic has made a lot of miscommunication mistakes with the U.S. government, kind of like maybe playing into like the doomer narrative. Let me ask people. So yeah, Dylan, if you want to maybe riff about something else, I'm going to do a poll. I'm curious. Number one, I want to ask people, do you agree with what Anthropic did in terms of like them standing their ground? And do you think they executed everything flawlessly, or there were miscommunication, there were misplays in terms of how maybe they communicated with these military people, right, with the Pentagon? So that's what I'm curious, because like I think it's okay to say, hey, because my take was, well, I'll explain my take afterwards. I want to do the poll without sort of you know what I mean, without, and then I'll say what my opinion were. But
yeah, because I sat down and I listened to Dario explain the details on the was it 60 Minutes interview or whatever. It was one of those national interviews, and yeah, actually talked about the nuance. And you don't say like, oh, they're not giving Anthropic over, they're not helping the U.S. government, they're not in the U.S. government's interest. That it was like very far from the way it came off. Like, it came off as very much like, we don't believe in like the government or America first. And it just seemed like the real distinction was we 99 or 98% agree. And like we actually like pioneered it. We were even before OpenAI or Grok or anyone else helping the government and the industrial like war machine. Just we had these kind of boundaries that we're unwilling to change, and then we had a dispute over changing those, and now it's like other people are like more willing to just let the things be used for surveillance, especially like, I mean, what, like, you really should like, it's, shouldn't they not be spying on American citizens? Like, I don't know, maybe they shouldn't be using LLMs to make kill decisions. Or I'm not saying like maybe at some point those two lines can't get crossed in some situations, but it certainly feels okay to take that model and say, hey, we don't want that to happen. Plus, you got 5 other models. So it's not like he said that we're going to pull it and cause any kind of a risk to the national security. He said, go ahead and switch over to Grok and we'll continue to support you on the way out. Like, we're not going to leave the US in a vulnerable spot. It just all seemed kind of reasonable to me. And maybe he isn't telling the full truth and there was something else, but it seemed like everyone I talked to had this very black and white kind of view of it. So, um, I think he mishandled the narrative, that's for sure. But the actual reasoning didn't, to me, seem to be nefarious or anti-American or unreasonable. So yeah, I don't know. That was about the same time I switched from ChatGPT over to Claude for most of my stuff. So I kind of used it as a sign of like a company with a little bit of principle. I liked it.
Yeah. So I posted the poll. So basically, ANT is the abbreviation for Anthropic, obviously. So do you agree with Anthropic? Did they communicate? Did they have good communication in terms of how they talk to the Pentagon, how they just sort of talk to the people? Or maybe you agree with them, with their stance, with kind of their beliefs, but you thought that maybe the communication could have been handled better. Maybe just Dario is a very passionate guy, but it's that sort of
Yeah.
typical.
Also, I think I got a feeling it has something else to do with him just being kind of in his own world. Like, you
Mhm.
just see, like, every time we saw those tech dinners at the White House, you'd see Zuckerberg there and you'd see Tim Cook. And before that, you'd see Elon before they had their thing. But you definitely see Sam Altman. And when the mic came to Sam Altman, he would, glaze the president and like, everything's good. Like, you see him in Saudi Arabia, like, everything's good. We can work with them. Like, you see him meeting with military officials. He just seems to play along with everything. And even if Anthropic is open to letting the military use their tools, he doesn't seem like Dario's kind of there all the time. Like, he's not sort of jumping when requested in all aspects. So this might have also been a little bit more of a like, hey, this isn't about the contract. This isn't about the tool. This is about like, we need to know you're like acting American, like in the sense that you're coming to the White House, that you're getting on narrative, that you're doing that kind of stuff too. So I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty far from all of this, so I have no real clue what they're all thinking. But that's just sort of what I just don't see him acting the same way as the Google CEO, as the Microsoft CEO, and as Sam
Mhm.
Altman.
That's the thing is, that Sam Altman and all the other CEOs or the people you mentioned, they probably would not have found themselves in that situation just because they would have somehow maneuvered around it. Also, it also depends on who you believe, because the Pentagon side, kind of the anecdote they gave is, they were discussing this issue with Dario, and they were going back and forth, and then the Pentagon guy was saying, well, imagine there's a nuclear bomb that's being launched towards the United States. Like, what happens then? Can we use, this technology for whatever we want? And according to him, he's saying, Dario was like, well, then you can call us and we can kind of figure it out.
Right. You don't have time for a call.
If that is a real conversation that took place, then I'm like, Dario, my dude, like, I love the guy. He seems very passionate. He seems very honest. I think he's really sincere in what he's saying. But holy crap, you don't say that. That's not a good. No, I go, what?
Yeah.
No, if you have somebody in the front lines defending the nation, you have to. But then again, I mean, there was this one person in old USSR, I think Vasily something something, that when he had one job. If he saw nukes flying towards the USSR, he pushed the button and they launched nukes towards the US. That was his only job. And then one morning he saw nukes flying towards USSR, and he was like, I don't know. I'm not gonna nuke the rest of the world. And it was a good thing he didn't, because that was some sort of
He was
glitch.
wrong, huh? Was it at birds? I think it was.
Well,
Yeah,
he was right, meaning that he
Yeah.
thought it might have been a glitch.
or sorry,
right?
yeah. He was
Yeah.
right that it was a glitch. Not, I mean, like, yeah.
The radar system was wrong, or however, I can look up the details, but the
I
point
know.
is,
I
what
think I've heard that story. That
Yeah.
like the whole world was like that guy. That was like that close to
right?
whatever, hundreds of millions of people being wiped off the planet. Because
Yep,
then, if you had launched, then US actually would have launched in retaliation, and then
exactly, and that would have started the nuclear
we wouldn't be here right now
apocalypse.
talking about this. Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's
But I don't know if
interesting to
that's
think
so
about.
much more trustworthy either. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's
Yeah, I
hard
don't know.
to say one thing for sure, because again, the people that are standing with Dario, I understand them, but also if you think about it, do we want the sort of, what is it called, the where we allow the idea of a private company dictating to the US government how certain things should be used, precedent,
Yeah.
right? In general, I think most people would say no. In this case, it's difficult, right?
Well, it's an interesting because it's not a tool that's reliable. So in some ways, Dario knows something that the government doesn't about how unreliable it is. Like what's actually going on in AI is pretty different. It's not like an axe or a missile or a spaceship. Like it's not going to just function or not function. It like sometimes will hallucinate and it will sometimes be accurate. It'll sometimes be superhuman and sometimes act totally unexpected. So it's kind of his job to make sure that if he gives that to the government, that they understand all of those. They should understand what they're buying, basically, right? Like, or they're getting, because if they're putting it in charge of things, you don't want someone in the government to be like, wait, this thing can hallucinate, or this thing can sometimes like give a high risk profile to something that's not real, because was that clearly documented? And Dario might say, I didn't know how to document it. I don't even know what's going to emerge from this thing. So do
Yeah.
you understand that? You know what I mean? Like, because what you're buying here has like a lot of caveats, and are you going to come back to me and say I built it wrong, or like a lot of that? And then also, if there is like, it does seem to me like a human should still be sitting there, and Anthropic's model can say, hey, like 199.999% certainty there's missiles flying at the US. Can't the human just press the button? Like, was it that big of a deal? Like the military actually wants Anthropic to also shoot the missile off? I mean, I guess they only have seconds to do it, but like, I don't know. It just seemed not that unreasonable to use it, except for kill decisions and except for spying on US citizens. I'm like, what do you need those two things that badly to be done automated?
I mean,
I don't know. It's just me.
I get what you're saying. I don't even know if that was necessarily what it is. It's like, imagine you're sitting in front of like a mafia boss, and you're some, whatever, you're some provider of something that they need, right? Gun manufacturer or whatever, right? So he's sitting there in front of you. He's like, hey, are you gonna play ball?
Yeah, it's true.
And you're
Don't
like,
ask
yeah,
questions.
for
What
sure.
are these guns for? Like,
Right.
don't ask about that.
And
Just sell them.
and
the
you
guns.
go, yeah, of course, except I have 3 policies that I'm not willing to cross, and they're perfectly reasonable policies, right? But like, in that situation, you probably wouldn't be dictating those policies to that guy, right? You know what I mean? Because you
I
understand.
know what you're saying.
And the person on the other side would have been like, whether the policies are reasonable or not, the fact that this person is not just 100% yes sir, no sir, is a problem. Like, that's sort of like, well, we're going to see, is a problem in certain situations. So I mean, I understand that Dario could have said like, oh, I just don't want it to be used for, whatever, to kill everybody in the planet. And that also would have been, because it's like, you're supposed to just say yes sir, and in the moment of decision, again, if the nukes are flying, you don't want a third party in control of what happens.
Yeah. No,
And
you're right. It's a tricky thing. Like, I don't
it
think he was right in all senses, because like that's why we have a government and not a single person making those decisions.
I don't think there's a right or wrong, man, because I mean,
Yeah, I know
we
what you
can
mean,
make,
though, but
yeah, it's freaking hard.
Yeah, because
But
like, who's to say that Dario is better than the president or someone else at making a decision, or a military strategist about something like that? So I don't know. It's just such a different world. Like, I don't
yeah,
know where to think about anything, but in general, I feel like everyone's moving a little too fast towards AI and war. So I
yeah.
just have this natural tendency to be like, anyone who's like, should we think about this? Should we slow it down? Should we have some sort of like rule around it? I just tend to kind of be like, okay, that's the person I'd like to kind of be like talking with or like promoting, because that's the conversation at least that I'd like to have more of.
Yeah, and the problem with EA and some of those people is, again, I do feel like somebody mentioned it earlier. Like some of these people are super smart. They're on the spectrum, and but they're very honest and they're very sort of they stick to their not they stick to their guns, but they stick to their ideals, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is, I'm sure most of us maybe met people like that, very smart, very honest, very intelligent, maybe like on the spectrum, Asperger's or something like that. They like I like those people a lot. I know they can be very abrasive. Like we've all
Oh
witnessed one of
yeah.
those people rub somebody else the wrong way, especially if sometimes people just don't they're not able to understand how that person is wired, so to speak. And so what you see in a lot of these situations, because the same thing happened, I think, with OpenAI, the coup that happened in whatever 2023. Remember, Sam Altman gets fired, and you have Helen Toner. Um, like they executed a perfect coup. They kicked him out. They had the control. How did they lose that? They lost that, I think, because number one, they stopped communicating. They managed to get the entire OpenAI staff against them, and it came down to them sitting in a room while the attorney general of New York, whether the Southern District or whatever, calling them saying, "Hey," the same guy that put Sam Bankman-Fried away, right? Calling her, going, "Hey, you better tell me what's happening." So you see how it's like they execute everything so intelligently, but when the human element is introduced, they fumble,
Yeah.
because I think people at
Yeah.
that high intelligence, they have a harder time being understood by the average person, also predicting what the average person's response will be. And I think you see that with Dario, you see that with, Helen Toner, you see that with a lot of people. Like they're smart, and technologically they're a lot of times they're right. They can see how the future will unfold, but the human element, not so much. You know what I mean? Do you agree with that, or is that, I know it's
Dude,
it's
totally.
general? Okay.
No, I totally do. In fact, it almost feels like as also, it kind of feels to me like Sam Altman's not that technical. I don't actually remember if he's like got an engineering background or not, but to me, he just seems like a human. Like, he seems like a startup kind of human. Like, I can make partnerships, I can make deals, I can kind of handle Microsoft is interest and Oracle's interest, and kind of go to both dinners and tell people what they need to hear. It seems like that's him, and Dario does not seem that way. You know what I mean? In fact, that's probably why part of maybe why he left OpenAI and he didn't like working under Sam, is that yeah, they seem to run the companies very differently.
Oh yeah, and unfortunately, you don't see too many of the super smart, that archetype, in high levels at the company, running companies. I mean, think about Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, right? So Wozniak was the hyper genius, but he didn't want to be on stage. He didn't want to talk to people, right? Steve Jobs was brilliant, certainly, but he wasn't the top of the food chain engineer, so to speak. He was very
Hmm.
smart, but he wasn't, what he accomplished wasn't necessarily because of his technical brilliance. It was because of all the other stuff, the skill stack that included being able to communicate with humans. I think that's Sam Altman, is the same, more similar to Steve Jobs than Steve Wozniak, and Dario's more like Wozniak than Jobs, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And also, it feels to me like I hope the whole thing with Anthropic like does kind of work out. Like, I'm hoping that this becomes not a like you can't use Anthropic, or they're all in and they let the government do whatever they want, but hopefully just a little conversation that says something like the government has said they understand the concern. We're still going to give them access to make kill decisions and I guess spy on US citizens, but we're only going to spy on US citizens in this context. Or maybe there's like in a sandbox situation, we have to have a million predictions that like accurately kill the right person before, a million in a row before we'll like deploy it. So like there's some extremely tiny amount of hallucination, just some kind of thing where I guess I could say like, okay, I understand like some cars are going to kill people, and it's also good that we have a society with cars because it gets goods and services all around. And then we just want to keep minimizing that, putting better strategies in place, inventing seatbelts, just kind of like here's where we need to start, and then like here's where we plan to improve. Just some kind of a some kind of a plan, you know?
Yeah. Sorry, you said something earlier that I wanted to respond to. Yeah, so just I guess the point that the idea of spying. So if I understand on like U.S. citizens or anybody, so in that Dateline interview that Dario did while the whole thing was unfolding, what he was, it's funny because we talked about this idea months prior. I think actually at that AI conference when we were doing our episode sitting underneath the escalator surrounded by the fake
The plants, yeah.
bushes. We were talking about how like throughout, as you go about life now, you're sort of like oozing all sorts of data, right? Like what Wi-Fi your phone connects to, you're walking past the camera, you said something in the vicinity of, everybody now has those Ring doorbells and
Ring
cameras outside their
doorbells,
house.
yeah.
Yeah, you're going for
All
a
meshed
walk,
together.
yeah. You're walking down the street, talking to somebody. There's not one tracker that picks up anything noteworthy. But if you walk down a block, that entire conversation might be on 20 different devices, right? So you're walking past the house, it picks up this, it picks up that. So if you imagine like doing that for just everything, your entire life, there's your entire life and habits and beliefs and everything could be recreated if you could just take all of these pieces of data from all these different devices and combine it into one. And we never before, very recently, we never had anything that could do that. Just being able to intelligently combine that on such a high level, we never had that. And now we do, and it's going to get better. And I think that's what Dario was saying is like listening to the world out there in general in public spaces. That's not spying by the US definition, right? Spying is like, I'm in your house listening to specifically what you're doing, or I'm tracking your car for 3 months. That is illegal. But gathering all of that data and then being able to kind of figure out what people are doing based on that, that's not technically illegal. And so what he's saying is he doesn't want this technology to be used for that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, let's like so it's going to happen like 100%, like just it's going to happen. Like AI is gonna put together patterns. It's gonna know where everyone is, what pretty much like what we're thinking, and like for the most part what risk profile we have. Will we actually take that data and like let the government make decisions about about us, or like can people, if you're looking for a job, can they like track you down and see how much time you waste at the water cooler, or like
Right.
can your neighbors figure out if you're a good neighbor? Like I don't know, like
Yeah.
how many people you give access to these solutions, or do we have them out there, and like maybe you can subpoena the government for a certain reason and like go ahead and use that data to prosecute someone, or do we just have it out there where everybody just gets it? And I'm just hoping that somebody puts some new rules in place and says, oh, you can subpoena if you think somebody's guilty of a missing person or some kind of violent crime or something. But I don't think it's just okay to kind of make some assumptions about whether we should insure someone, or companies kind of feel like they could use it to squeeze, change prices on Amazon depending on who you are, and like they can tell that you just came into money and like now, I don't know, put pressure on you, or you know what I mean, or like give that to people who now know who to
Yeah.
rob because of this or that. Like that's where it starts getting kind of crazy.
Well, Red Metapex said this might fall into merit scores for UBI. That's a bingo. That's exactly
Maybe.
the horrible outcome future
Bro,
we need to avoid.
I covered a really interesting AI model a couple of days ago that was and this blew my mind. But in most cars, there's a sensor that measures how much tire pressure you have, right? Like the PSIs.
Mhm.
And you can't run a wire to this thing because it's spinning, right? Like if there was actually a wire that went into the tire, it would like wind up and rip the wire. So it's
Yeah.
so what all those sensors are wireless. they send a tiny, they spin with the tire, and then they send a message, whatever, every like minute or something that just says, hey, here's my tire pressure, here's my tire pressure. And then a little receiver that's close to it inside of the drivetrain or whatever picks it up and like puts that on your dashboard. But it's not like super encrypted. And there was another AI model that was like, okay, well, these researchers or whatever put a little measurement device on the side of the street and just started like tracking and they have like little unique UUID numbers or something like that. And just as they passed, and eventually then trained a little AI model, like kind of fine-tuned it so it could just see what's coming by. And it started predicting like around what time what car will pass. And it was just the beginning. And it's like, okay, now if you could just attach that pattern to like some person, now you know when they go to work or when they drive this thing. And if you set those around a whole city, you could all of a sudden have this map. And like, what a weird, unique identifier that nobody ever thought about. Like the PSI measurement device that has a tiny unencrypted wireless signal, you know, so maybe now those need to be encrypted because they can actually become, you know, tracking devices.
Yeah. And that's one example in probably a sea of examples, because I think 2 years ago we talked about this new AI model where it listens to the keystrokes, the actual like
the sound of the click.
And to figure out what your password is. Like it can replicate what people are typing over time, can start to predict exactly what letters are pushed. So if you think about it, you're able to pick up people's passwords and login information with you don't have to visibly see what they're doing, you know, what they're typing. You don't need to visibly see anything. It's just through some remote listening device. So that's, you know, again, just those are just two applications. Yeah. Think about how many more there are. And so I get where Dario is coming from, right? So he's saying that this is a way to avoid the US laws. I think it's the 4th Amendment about, you know, spying on the population, because it's technically not considered spying because you're not listening to them directly. You're sort of just like these snippets of data that all get formed in the AI. But, you know, it's not a full picture. It's a bunch of
the letter
jigsaw
of the
puzzles.
law. Yeah. Like the spirit, I mean, the spirit of the law was like, people want freedom. The letter of the law is like, well, we can remove your freedom if we put enough data sources together where none of them are technically spying and spy.
Yeah. So I totally get where he's coming from, and that needs to be protected. Is, you know, talking to the head of the Pentagon after you sign the contract, is that the right way of going about it?
The place to do it? Probably not.
So that's where
when I filled out your poll, I definitely said they handled it wrong. I don't think can't give them credit for that, even if
I agree with a lot of the stuff. Yeah, and I'm glad that somebody with Dario's sort of like moral compass or whatever, like I'm glad that they're have this position. Man, does it feel like that was a misplay. There were some missteps. He should not have been in that office talking to the guy one-on-one. Like the game was over when he was called to that meeting. Like that was already game lost. It should have been prevented.
And with all that attention too, it would have been nice if he's got some really smart AI safety researchers over there. But I'd say the best in the world. Like, why didn't he say to them, look, I got to go on TV in 48 hours. Like, try your best to come up with some kind of a solution that I can suggest to the world. You know, like what would the sandbox look like, or what does a reasonable kill strike look like, or what's a confidence interval that like needs to be like a threshold. And then I could at least present that, because I wish the average person had, instead of coming to me saying like they don't like America, said, what do you think about that threshold? Is that a good threshold or not? And then we could have had like an actual debate about a solution. But I don't know. It's always easy to judge people after they say things too. So I don't know if I would have been that smart either.
One question I would pose to people, like imagine you're running a company that's your lifeblood, everything like that you're trying to build, like you really care about it, you don't want it to go away, and you find yourself in the middle of a PR storm. Like there's some allegations or some tightrope that you have to, whatever, like you're in a delicate position where public opinion will either make it better or kill you, right? Just ask yourself one simple question. In that situation, who do you want to be your PR person talking to the cameras? Is it Dario Amodei or Sam Altman? Yeah, exactly. Just ask yourself that question. who are you going to be watching on TV, right? Going, oh, please don't say the thing. Don't say the thing. No, you
No,
said the thing.
I know. I
Versus
would.
versus like, wow, that was a really good wow, you totally avoided like this issue by saying it this way. Like Sam Altman's going to win that game. That's
No,
all I'm saying about.
I would
Yeah,
definitely be like, before I answer that, let me introduce you to my new waifu. She will be handling these PR questions from here on out.
she's going to
And
take all the
like,
questions.
she's like, hey, you guys like my new shirt? I'm out.
Boom. Yeah, exactly. So
Just like
that's
distract.
I just realized we went for quite some time.
Yeah.
2
We can
hours.
call
So
it now if you want.
let's maybe start wrapping it slowly. So yeah, thank you everybody for taking part of the questions. So 55% of the people agree with of Anthropic. They had good communication, and then 31% agree with Anthropic, bad communication, and then 13%
Oh.
disagree with Ant. Yeah, just for the majority of the people, 55%. Please understand, I'm not saying anything negative about Anthropic or Dario or his morals, ethics, what he's trying to achieve. This is not that. This is charisma check, right? You sometimes you find yourself in situations where you need to communicate to people that think very differently from you, that perceive reality very differently from you. The crowds tend to perceive what you say, and then the news media blow it out of control. That's why people have PR training or whatever, media training. What I'm saying is there might have been some misplays in how Dario communicated. Not that he did anything wrong in terms of, oh, but some person saying Dario's not a politician, but you really want another really good liar. I prefer his bad communication. You know what?
Yeah, no, dude, you're right. I guess I said I want it because I want to succeed or whatever, but no, I don't actually want the world to work this way. I wish all the politicians were gone and only the engineers told us everything and we made logical decisions. It's just human emotions don't vote that way very often.
Yeah, I don't know how to respond to that because yeah, you're absolutely right. We don't want another politician or somebody that's just a smooth talker. Maybe Dario is the best person for this because he's just going to say whatever's on his mind. Yeah, I prefer. Yeah, I mean, I do prefer people like that kind of. But man, do they have a disadvantage? It seems like in our modern discourse, how our discourse is handled. I don't know, dude. I don't know what the right answer is, honestly.
Yeah, he doesn't like own a social network or anything, so he's not going to be able to bias, like kind of like spread his words, or he doesn't really like build like a cult around him the same way. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
if Steve Jobs would have said something like, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Steve Jobs, man, a lot of things came out about him, how like angry and abrasive he was after he died. Do you know what I mean? You didn't hear anything negative, too many negative things while he was still alive, right?
No, it's a little bit of a different era too. Now I feel like you need. I almost wonder like if Sam Altman's like, oh, I need to get Sora up and running, so I have like my own social network because Elon's got his own and Oracle's kind of got their own now. It's like if you don't have your own social network, Microsoft's got LinkedIn and Google has YouTube. It's just hard to have a real opinion in the world without a network under you.
Yeah. Used to be newspapers and TV shows. Now it's more like social networks. So, which is interesting. Anyways, thank you so much for everyone that joined us today. If you have a second to check out the little thing that I posted that's pinned in the comments, that's to help me understand better who you are. If you can fill that out, I'd appreciate it. I'm sure some of you did already, and thank you so much for that. Hopefully this was interesting and informative and entertaining for people. If this works out, we'll do more of these. So if you liked it, hit thumbs up, subscribe, do all of the things to help us out so we can do this more often. Thank you so much for everybody being here. Thank you so much, Dylan, for joining me today. And till next time.
That was fun. And yeah, thanks to the audience for all the comments. I think I learned a lot. So appreciate it.
This was awesome. All right. We'll see you later. Stay safe and stay sane, as somebody said. GG.
Okay, bye.
Bye. And we're going to just chill for a second here.
Stay safe and stay sane. Oh,
so
I haven't heard that one.
We're still live, but Okay, now I can turn it off because the stream has caught up. Okay,